Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. Everybody's working for the weekend. Taking care of business every day. Now it's wow, welcome to the working week.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Minimum wage.
All righty, we're here for the Working Lunch. This is Jeff Turgeon, your host, along with
Sean McGauley.
and we're joined by our producer extraordinaire, Bob Zakowski. Bob, how you doing today?
We are doing well. We're just trying to get this so people can see you.
Oh, there we
you
go.
know?
So for folks that are unfamiliar with the Working Lunch, maybe just tuning us in on their dial 91.3 WCUW, we're the show that looks at workforce-related issues, job search, workforce, economic growth, economic development. Sean and I work at the Central Mass Workforce Investment Board, and of course Bob Zakowski, longtime member of our staff as well, who is now.
And we pull him out of retirement every month for an hour of fun.
So when he thinks he's out, we pull him back in.
Dust off the mothballs and
Speaking of, how is retirement going?
Yeah, what's going on?
excellent. Started doing some of my bucket list. We went out last week. There was a beautiful day. Spent it at the Norman Rockwell Museum.
Oh, Stockwell, Stockbridge?
Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And then on the way back, had
Full of
lunch.
facts.
Had lunch at the Red Lion Inn, and it was a beautiful day.
You know, I'll tell you, he's my favorite artist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love the realism. I love it's realism with a theme, right? And he had a social conscious about him, and there's the one with the famous one with the little boy who's like he's got the runaway tramp bag and he's sitting next to a masked state trooper. Right?
Yes.
I bought that print.
Oh, did you really?
I bought that print.
What's the name of that? Because he names them too. Like it's something
don't
like
remember
Runaway
the
or
name.
something, right?
Yeah. I went out to buy some Boy Scout prints, but I was informed by the museum that the Boy Scouts of America own all the prints.
Oh.
So you actually can't get even a print because they own the
Boy Scout.
copyright?
You can get them through the Boy Scouts, but not at the museum.
What's the Boy Scout ones?
They have one of the mother pinning the eagle onto a son. They have another of a boy coming back from camp, and then there's doing a good turn daily type of things. I
don't know. I'm kind of a simple guy, right? Meat and potatoes kind of guy. I get a little annoyed when the artists
Too abstract, or
the artists the artists that get attention are the ones it's just it's just
a re-envisioning.
It's just like splotches on a wall, and they're like, well, this is man's.
There's a lot of feeling in that, though, Jeff. You gotta.
Norman Rockwell.
I like the fact that you can actually there's a story that you can read into it.
Yes.
And you can tell what it is. I love the realism. I think there's just, for me, that's skill, that's talent, and that's emotion versus it's whatever you interpret it to mean.
The lower.
They did the thing with the monkeys that just throw stuff on a wall and then that's whatever I. Come on,
the lower
give me an actual.
Yep. The lower level of the museum has all his Saturday Evening Post.
Yes.
That started around the 1918, 1920, and goes all the way through into the 70s when he was still an illustrator for them. And you could tell life in America.
Yeah.
Between the pictures, the attire that the people were wearing.
Yeah.
All the way through, and the hot topics of the time. So, and that's
and he made some pretty progressive or bold stances in his work, right, around racial integration and some of the other issues of the day.
He did, definitely. And he initially had his children. Posing, and classmates, and then and that's what he did. He would take the picture and then go and do the illustration.
So we're talking to Dr. Bob Zakowski here on the Working Lunch program. What else is on the bucket list, Bob?
On the bucket list, we got to get out to Texas because there's the Boy Scout Museum out in Arlington, Texas. So I'm going to get out there at some point. California, Mississippi, South Carolina, Florida.
So there's a lot of traveling involved.
I hope so.
We doing? Are you driving? You got an RV? You got to rent an RV? And see the
No.
state?
We'll
You'd probably hit them all on one road trip.
Yeah, but yeah, you notice I go, yes.
One long summer.
One long summer, yeah. But it'll be flights out to the left coast.
Sure. Well, that sounds sounds
It's going to be hard to
exciting.
nail
Yeah,
down
it
Bob
sounds
for the
like-
next month if he's going to be in
we're
California
gonna
and
have to-
Texas.
we'll have
And
to
still
learn how
teaching.
to-
I'm
Still
still
doing some
teaching.
teaching. What are you doing? Any classes this semester?
Yeah, online. Doing
Okay.
2 online.
You're teaching some online classes.
Yes.
Can still get those from Texas and California. right?
That's true. That's a good point. As long as
Yes,
you have
I
your
can.
internet-
Anywhere.
Long distance learning.
Technology, right?
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of technology and changes, we're part of a. You love my segue.
I love those seamless segues.
Segue right into it.
I love when people segue and it has nothing to do like. And speaking of healthcare, and what we were.
Yeah, I feel healthy.
Well, but at any rate, so but yeah, so we're. I wanted to lead into the fact that we are actually. Sean and I had to race over here. I had to leave a meeting that we were doing, that we were hosting around a new healthcare grant that the state has issued. A lot of people know about, Massachusetts. We were the first to introduce, what was affectionately known as Romney Care, and that really helped to insure people. And we've have a consultant that's working with us, Dennis Irish. A lot of people know him in the Worcester community, a long time healthcare employee and really knows this stuff. He basically has framed it this way. We're the first in the nation to introduce Romney Care, and now there's a new wave of reform in Massachusetts, which aligns that legislation, our state's legislation, with the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. But then also how in Massachusetts, it really kind of fine-tunes how our system works in order to pay for and manage the costs of universal coverage that we had first kind of established with Romney Care. And so there's a section of the Massachusetts Reform Law, Chapter 224, which really kind of mandates some pretty broad changes in the industry. And it's really creating a lot of changes to healthcare delivery. And, among the things, it's brought a sense of transparency and around reimbursement rates for services and has put a spotlight on services like where's it the most effective place to get your tests done? Where's it the most effective or efficient place to get your MRI done?
As a consumer? Is that
As a consumer, but also as a healthcare provider, healthcare insurance provider.
Oh, okay.
And you're reimbursing these rates, and, you've got a hospital that does a test and it costs, $2,000, and you've got a standalone clinic that does the same test and that costs, $400. The insurance company is trying to, and again, as a state, because you've insured more people, now they're trying to bring the cost down overall to the system, if you will. And so that reform effort with Chapter 224 has created new models and new ways of doing business to get efficiencies, but it's also, so that's the positive kind of side of it. It has, however, created a lot of changes to the industry in terms of employment and how many staff do you need and are you actually providing it? So, on the big picture level, a lot of people have heard UMass Memorial, a lot of layoffs over the past couple of years. They've really shed a lot of jobs, a lot of, I don't have the exact figure, but, we're talking hundreds of jobs. And a lot of it has come from shifting their delivery system and their model and the services that they're actually providing versus outsourcing. So, like their lab specialists, instead of doing that in-house, they were able to shift that over to a third party, a local lab or whatever. In some instances, maybe even not local. So to do that lab processing work at a small place in, say, Framingham or wherever, costs a lot less to the system. But of course, what does that mean to the people that were working?
Right.
To the 46 people that were in that department, who are now let go.
who have that skill? That's
Who have
kinda
that skill.
gone-
And fortunately, some of them were able to, many of them were able to move into those new jobs because with all that new work that still has to get done, that third party had to pick up and expand operations. So there was, I guess you might call it more shifting and churning than true like total layoffs, but it did also affect a lot of people that weren't going to get hired.
Yeah.
You've got people that already worked at that other company that were able to pick up some more hours or more slack or whatever. So now you did have a significant number of people that aren't going to get rehired in that instance. So so it has created a lot of changes in the industry, and so the state has put forth as part of the reform effort a fund. They've put a fund together to help retrain people.
I was going to say, is there a silver lining to this story? Because it was getting very dark.
Wow, I didn't need to be so Dr. Broody. But yes, so the silver lining, I guess, would be that there's a fund out there to help retrain people as they move into new roles within their organization. In some instances, it might be training for people that need that are coming into healthcare that need to take on tasks that the skill set is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've done, so we're putting together a planning team. We'd received a small grant through that fund to put together a coalition, if you will, of healthcare providers from kind of all segments within the system. You've got acute care, the hospitals, you've got long-term care facilities, you've got the community health sector, you've got mental health providers. So we're trying to bring people, you got home health, that's another big segment. So we're trying to bring people together to really look at, hey, what do the changes mean to your organization and your workforce? And is there training that kind of runs across multiple sectors or multiple organizations that we should put in for an implementation grant through this opportunity to help train those people up? So that's kind of what, and that's similar to the work that the board does, right, with bringing people together to really look at
convening the partners, bringing everybody in the same room,
folks, bringing them in together, finding out what the needs are, and then helping bring resources in to train those folks. So and to coordinate those trainings that happen. So
with a consultant from the industry too, kind of
helping
lead the
us
project,
really kind of facilitate the project and those discussions. That's been great, and that was, of course, as I mentioned, Dennis Irish. So I know our staff that is really kind of spearheading and working with Dennis on this is Phil Niddrie, and you had a chance to sit down with him.
Yeah, actually. I could play the interview here. I've got just need that piece there.
Okay. So while you set that up, this was with Phil Niddrie, who we share halftime with the CMWIB and halftime with the City of Worcester's Economic Development Department. You are listening to 91.3 WCUW, The Working Lunch.
And here's the interview with Phil. All right, I'm here now with Phil Niddrie, the Business Retention Manager at the Central Mass Workforce Investment Board and the City of Worcester. Phil, how you doing today?
Doing well, Sean. How are you?
Good. So we've got you here to talk about the Healthcare Consortium. Can you tell us a little bit about what this is? I understand that the WIB has applied for a grant from the state to get together some healthcare professionals in the area.
Yeah, we received a planning grant with the new healthcare regulations coming forward federally and statewide. What we have to do is try to get the healthcare providers as they adjust to the changes in healthcare training and for their employees. What we're trying to do is get them together to see what their needs may be. And many of these organizations are small, and they don't have the personnel to apply for and receive an administrative grant.
So let's do it as a group, right?
So we're trying to bring them together as a group, get a sense of what their needs may be. They will design it. They'll determine what their needs may be, and we'll design a grant accordingly. It's similar to what we did for the manufacturers once last year in Southbridge, and again this year in Southbridge and Worcester, where small groups of small organizations, again, that don't have that personnel to apply for grants, and then administrate them and do the paperwork of a statewide grant process. We give them the opportunity to simply provide the guidelines for what they need, and we administer it for them.
And that seems like a successful model. I know with the manufacturing one, we're a smaller organization. We can't take care of the paperwork, so the WIB and kind of takes care of that piece, and then the businesses can focus on training their employees.
Right. What we'll do is we will work to, once we identify with them what their needs are, and we apply for the grant and hopefully receive an implementation grant, which we have to have a letter of intent into the state by the end of June. If we receive the grant following our application, we will then work with them They'll provide the employees, we'll do the paperwork, and we'll also help recruit and retain some instructors for the training programs.
And then who's involved with this? I know it's kind of early on stages, but have you reached out to anybody?
We've reached out to as many healthcare providers as we can. We co-sponsored with the Chamber of Commerce a healthcare forum back in May 1st. They had a number of their membership attend that. We had a number of people who we helped apply for our planning grant, about 17 or 18 people. And we really are taking all those healthcare providers that we could find and sent out an email to them asking if they'd like to join this consortium. Probably went out to about, say, 30. We have had probably a third of that respond. Some of them are larger and going to do a grant on their own. The ones that have responded to us are the smaller ones, and they're ones who probably need this assistance more generally and more importantly as time goes on.
And is the WIB's main role kind of administrative to kind of convene these meetings and get everything
Yes.
together?
Yeah, what we did was we brought on a consultant, Dennis Irish, who is a pretty well-known hospital administrator. He's going to be our consultant for this. He's going to help write the grant, help design the grant with them. He is in the process now of working to research all that he needs to prepare them for the correct questions, what they need to really direct this grant for. Again, it will be designed by them, but he's going to help them through the new regulations of Chapter 224, which is the new healthcare regulations in Massachusetts. So what they'll do is design with them what the grant will be based on their needs.
Excellent, excellent. So it's nice to have somebody who has that background, kind of writing the grant, has a background in healthcare.
Yeah, he speaks the language of healthcare providers. He understands that mentality and needs to know what their needs may be when they talk. He understands the needs because he's had experience in it.
Excellent. Well, thank you for taking a couple minutes with us today. I'm sure there's more to come. I know you've got your first.
Well, there we go. So that was Sean's interview with Phil Niddrie from our office, who's working with Dennis Irish on this exciting project. And, it's an opportunity. We talk about bringing resources in to meet our workforce needs. This is an opportunity to go after a grant. It's not a huge grant, but, $250,000 approximately over 2 years to train people in our region to really help deliver the services in line with the new healthcare law. So
Dennis was part of the first group that met to
Yes.
start the feasibility of going after that planning grant.
So it's kind of come around in some ways full circle there, yeah.
Yep.
So, and I should mention too that this approach of bringing companies together and serving multiple companies or organizations with a training grant is very similar to our workforce training fund program that we've done two grants now in Southbridge with manufacturers, groups of manufacturers. Just looking here at our list here. So we had worked with 5 manufacturers down in Southbridge to help train through the Mass MEP, the Mass Manufacturing Extension Partnership, great training organization and industry group for manufacturers here statewide. But here in Central Mass, they were able to work with those employers, give their staff the training they need. And again, each company maybe put in, so say it was a training on lean manufacturing. They would the class holds 12. The small companies that we're working with, the smallish companies that we're working with, they're not going to fill that classroom up, but they could provide 2 or 3 each, and so you were able to maximize the efficiency of the training by putting together this consortium. So that's why it's such an exciting, so that project was exciting to work with, and we've got a couple more of those consortiums going, and now, so that's in manufacturing, and now we're kind of shifting gears a bit with this response to the Chapter 224 over to healthcare.
That Southbridge group, besides learning skills, I shouldn't say basic skills, but learning the skills of manufacturing, there was also a spin-off that the HR folks talked about, and that was the morale building.
Yeah.
And the just changing the whole atmosphere, that they felt empowered. The employees felt empowered, and
They
that
felt like
they
they
felt
cared
special.
for. Yeah, they
Yeah.
felt like, hey, they're making an investment in me, and so more loyalty, more feeling of like you said, empowerment, or just being a part of the company stronger because, hey, it's not just they're just paying me an hourly wage and they don't necessarily care about my future. They're investing in me because they think I'm part of the future of this organization as well. So
And they came back so excited that the other employees wanted to know when it was their
yeah,
turn.
when do I get to go? So-
When do I get to go on
Now,
training?
so this opportunity is around with healthcare with Chapter 224. Let me see if I can. If I'm going to shift gears on you here, see if
Uh-oh.
we can get your memory working here. Do you remember a show back in this? Because I said to Sean, I said, "Oh, it's Chapter 222," and he said Chapter 222 or 224 because he's heard me reference 224. And he goes, "Oh yeah." And I said, "What was I thinking?" And I think I was thinking of Room 222.
Two.
Do you remember
Yes.
that show?
Yes. I don't remember who the...
Well, I had to go to the Google to find it.
You did. I don't remember anybody in the show, but I remember...
Karen Valentine.
Really?
Yeah. And I researched it on YouTube and saw the opening segment. And talk about a snapshot in time. You're talking about with Norman Rockwell. Talk about a snapshot. It ran from 69 to like 73 or something. Talk about a snapshot of like that early 70s, late 60s, show. It was a bit, and it was a bit
Just
on the, it was like so earnest. Is how I might describe it. The show was like, we're going to change the world, and the young,
Yes.
the young noble teacher. I think it featured like a kind of a grizzled, kind of Ed Asner-esque. It wasn't Ed Asner, but an Ed Asner-esque principal who's kind of, I've seen it all. You're one of those, and it very integrated, diverse population of characters.
Yep.
It had like almost like a Sidney Poitier type, Mr. Gibbs type role. Is it Gibbs? What was the team?
What was his name?
Mr.
Yeah.
To Sir with Love. That kind of. I
Yep.
think there was that kind of character in it. But boy, so I said to another our new resource development person, Ethan Brown. I said, "Hey, remember that show Room 222?" And of course, he's younger, so
Yes.
he looks at me like I'm crazy. He says, "Oh, you mean 227, Room 227," which of course featured Jacquet and Marla Gibbs, and was like it was like set in a neighborhood, and it was their apartment room was 227. Totally different show.
Yes.
So there you go. So totally different. Now, I think we're due for about a break here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to be talking with some of the other things that we got going on here in Central Mass. We got a lot of stuff happening right now, of course, this time of year with the summer jobs starting to get together. So take it away for a little break, Bubba. All right. Well, that was a great, for those listening live on the radio, that was a great promo there featuring some great blues music. Bob, do you know who that was?
No, I don't.
I don't.
I'm gonna say I know it was Buddy Guy then, which I'm sure was probably wrong.
Might be, but I'm not sure.
But I'll say it with
From
conviction, like I know what I'm talking about.
whatever they beg, borrow, and steal to use as a bumper.
So one of the things that we're looking at, we're developing our strategic goals at the CMWIB, and we've been talking to a number of stakeholders about what should we be working on here in the future with workforce development. And one thing that's kind of bubbled to the surface, and it's been kind of there maybe all along, is this idea that there's a greater need, especially in Worcester, but in the region as a whole, for adult career technical education opportunities. So in other words, adult skills training. And we've talked about this issue with Quinsigamond Community College, and actually the president, Dr. Carberry, who's on our board, had convened a small kind of listening session with folks in Maine South, thinking that it might be, if we started something small in Maine South, that might be a great location for it. And so, you look at as we started talking about this, it made me feel like we've been here before. Like things are coming around full circle. And I don't have the history. I grew up in Worcester guy, but I was a little bit younger back then. But it seems like back in we talk about room 222 in the 70s and classroom.
Yes.
It seemed like back in the 70s, we had a very robust adult skills training center. It was the Worcester Technical Institute, or affectionately known as WITI, right?
WITI, yes.
And it seems like that was what we're talking about. It was like a comprehensive center people can go to for short-term, day-focused training. Now, Quinsigamond has taken up much of the slack on that with their professional development, maybe even versus the credit side. But still, there seems to be a crying need there for like an adult trade school. Is of course, we have the crowning jewel of all trade schools in the nation. Excited, to have that we can point to Worcester Technical High School. But during the day, that's busy with young people.
I think we're WITI, and it was on Belmont Street. It was actually on Belmont Street at one time.
Well, listen, I actually have. Look at this. We've done some research on this
You
because I'm
did
really
some
interested in following up on this idea. So this is one of the last program brochures that they had, program handbooks.
A colleague.
It actually surprised me how long it lasted. It went until the mid '90s.
A colleague.
And here's one from the '70s.
Yes, and a colleague of mine, who serves on the school committee, was part of the administration of WITI.
Okay.
Ken Wheeler.
Well, I see a lot of familiar names. Like as I look through the faculty and administration, you see a lot of familiar names because they went on to other things within Worcester Public Schools or within Quinsigamond.
That's right.
So, for instance, I know Sandra Baboni, who's up at Worcester Technical High School, was part of the faculty here, administration here. So, so this idea though of the other thing that really caught my eye here is the cost of instruction for a year. So say you took a certificate program that took a year, 2 semesters, say, was approximately $50 because you had to cover basically some ancillary fees. If you were in like a construction training, you might have to buy your own work boots, your own tool belt, so maybe a couple $100. Right. But compare that to where we're at with non-credit. I mean, if you're lucky enough to get into a credited program, you might get a Pell Grant.
Because when we saw the start of that, towards the ending or the twilight of the WITI program was the beginning of Quinsigamond Community College in this area. And when WITI closed, Quinsigamond was able to absorb some of the programs, but did not have the capacity to take over everything.
And to
that's understandable.
And to Dr. Cabry's credit, I mean, she's recognizing kind of where their gaps are as well.
Yep.
And so so they're looking at.
They just caught you on camera multitasking.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's what I'm always trying to do. So at any rate, so we're really trying to do what we can to put that forward of how do we maybe bring back some of those things that were lost with that transition. I know that there's all sorts of angles to that or parts of that issue that need to be addressed, and certainly the funding is a major one. So we're still researching how it all came together for WITI and how we might bring back, and again working in partnership with Worcester Public Schools. I know some elements of that might have been taken over by nightlife, although that's more of, in some ways they work on more like like home repair and things around hobbies and recreation. Nightlife also has like an HVAC program and some other technical training that might be, but it is offered at night, and they do a good job of utilizing some of the resources at Worcester Technical High School. And we've got other trade schools in the region as well that offer night programming.
Yes, but again with the Voc Tech schools, at one time there was capacity for adults to come in.
Now that seems odd to me, into this day and age, right?
Yeah, and I think Assabet has a program for the LPN program. They have a day program and an evening program.
And are they working in the same classroom as young people?
No, this would be a post-grad. This would what they refer to as a post-grad program with the high school. They would need a high school diploma in order to get into the LPN program.
But I know at some schools back in the day, they had actually had, say, a returning veteran or any adult, in the classroom with the young people going through a shop or a trade, right? And that to me, because we're not, that whole model just seems to be a little different, and it just seems like that boy, it just doesn't seem like
Yeah.
a great fit, right?
Not at this time, especially when you have a wait list in order
Oh,
to
that's a
get
good
into.
point, too. Yeah,
in
you've
order
got
to
no-
get
you've
in.
got no capacity there
For
to share.
instance, at Bay Path for next year, there'll be 311 freshmen, and there's a wait list of over 200.
Yeah, and I'm sure at Worcester Tech it's
It's
similar,
the
if not
same
more,
thing.
right?
Every single Voc Tech school, except for, I believe, on the Cape. On the Cape because of a change in the population.
Yeah,
So there's less high school students down on the Cape.
interesting. And of course,
And-
they bring in a lot of seasonal help.
Seasonal
so,
help, yeah.
You know, so that might squeeze out some of the local, I guess you'd say, kind of blue collar year round residents
Sure.
versus more seasonal residents or retirees, right?
Yeah.
Retiring. Are you going to retire on the Cape? Or is that
No.
You do some fishing for the striper and blues, right?
Yes, they should be running soon.
So we got a lot going on with that. That whole issue around skill development and what that means. We're going to take another break here. I think we have another break, and when we come back, we're going to be looking to come back, and we have an interview that we're looking to get to with our new Workforce Career Center, Workforce Central Director, Janice Weeks. So why don't we take a break and we'll come back.
Bill LeBeau from Crosstracks.
Totally Mental. Buck Owens and Rose Maddox with Mental Cruelty. The Monks from 1966 with Love Came Tumbling Down. The Detroit Cobras with the Cha-Cha Twist, and started off with the Moving Sidewalks.
That's a selection of Bill's programming every Thursday, 6 a.m. on Crosstracks.
I shall rest at the close of the day long.
This is Brother David from Souls Horizon, letting you know that our Souls Horizon will be on each and every Sunday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WCUW 91.3 FM Worcester. Looking forward to giving you great gospel music, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. each and every Sunday morning.
Last mile of the way.
Tune in Monday nights and listen to Classic Collage from 9 p.m. until midnight. We bring you a mix of symphonic works and small ensembles, chamber music, pops, opera. We're the only station in Worcester where you can hear rebroadcasts of live concerts that were performed locally. Tune in to WCUW 91.3 FM, where classical music lives, right here on Classic Collage every Monday night from 9 p.m. until midnight.
Hi, this is Stephen Blake. Tune in on Mondays from 5 to 7 to catch The Drive with moi.
Glimpses. Thursday, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. Glimpses. John McCabe will bring you psychedelia from the old school to the new.
Will it turn you on or turn on you?
Listen and see. Glimpses. Thursday, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. Here on Community Radio, WCUW, Worcester.
Okay, we're here with Janice Weeks, the new director of Workforce Central Career Centers. So, Janice, welcome aboard officially.
Thank you, Jeff.
Tell us a little bit about as director of Workforce Central. Tell us a little bit about the kind of the span of control for that position.
Sure. Workforce Central is comprised of 3 career centers, Worcester, Southbridge, and Milford. It's a mixture of both state and city of Worcester employees. We have some commonality, but then also we're in 3 different geographic locations, so we also do some customering to the local targeted population. We offer a mix of career assistance and finding employment for customers who walk through the door, and we also support unemployment navigation, only assisting the DUA. That's not our full focus.
And also business services as
Business
well. I know
services
is a
as well.
big part of the mix. So it seems like a pretty large control. You have 3 centers that you oversee, and you have a mixture of state and city staff. So I imagine that must create some challenges from a management perspective. You've got slightly different employment, regulations or whatever. So, and now the state staff also report to you day to day, I take it, right?
Right. And it is a challenge, but we've been working diligently on integration to make it seamless so that, I like to say we're one organization in 3 locations. And primarily the Milford and Southbridge office is comprised largely of state employees, but the flow of city employees go over into those areas as well to support their activities. But overall, we have a great team. We have a very diverse team. We have a very professional and experienced team. And we work really well at trying to make the whole process seamless as it relates to, am I working with a state employee or am I working with the city of Worcester employee?
Sure, and I would take it the average customer at the Career Center, either business or job seeker, wouldn't know if you asked them what, where their person's check comes from, their paycheck comes from. So that's a credit to the organization that you've been able to integrate, those two sides of the of staff in there. So it must be, to have 3 different career centers. You'd mentioned Milford and Southbridge as well as Worcester. You've been before taking on the director role, overseeing all 3, you've been the operations manager in Worcester. So it must be a bit of a challenge too, in that each center has their own unique flavor or their own unique kind of circumstances where they're located and the customer mix and all that. So how do you help pull those all together?
Teamwork, and again, there are a lot of common denominator programming that we offer. We all offer the Career Center Seminar, which is standardized across the state.
And you have managers at each location that you work through?
There are 3 operations manager at each location. They get together on a regular basis and work as a team. And also, even outside of our region, the operations managers across the Commonwealth get together on a regular basis and talk about some common challenges and some best practices. So there is an effort, to tie everything together, but you also have to keep in mind different populations, different communities. So, you'll find some unique offerings in different places.
And I know, of course, also you're lucky enough to not only have state oversight and following federal guidelines on the funding that you get, but you also have another overlay of support from the WIB, and of course, so we work very closely with you to help set the overall direction of the career centers. Really day to day, it's up to you to kind of take and run with those big picture ideas, and how do you kind of operationalize them, which I imagine is another kind of interesting challenge as part of the work, is to how to create take that vision that you're helping develop with the WIB, in partnership with the WIB, and then operationalize it for your staff.
And I think a definite plus for us is that currently, and I don't see it changing, that the WIB and the career centers have a great relationship. I think it's the membership of the WIB has a lot to offer. One of the things we've looked at, and you've been very involved with from the beginning, is the whole I-Team concept, where we pull together staff from all 3 locations to come up with some very focused, detailed information based on different industries and what's happening in those industries and what certifications may be needed and what the job opportunities are available.
So those high growth opportunities, or those in demand industries in our region.
Right, health, manufacturing.
Yeah, better connect the staff and the job seekers and with the businesses that are out there.
And my hope is that, the members of the WIB will be able to keep us better abreast on best practices and changes in those very diverse industries, so that we can better serve our customers.
And it kind of flows in both directions there with as the WIB seeks new members, that could help support the I-Team and look to kind of align those 2 visions there, so that your membership is also, as we're out kind of recruiting new members for the board and for our subcommittees, including a committee that works closely with the Career Center. We're doing so mindful of the fact that we want to engage them in some of these industry focused services that you're now bringing on board. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get you made it up to the director here, into the big chair. So how did you get there? Tell us a little about your personal background.
Well, it's interesting. Prior to becoming the director, I was the operations manager on the state side and held that position for 3 years. Prior to that, I've had a very diverse background. Prior to coming on as the ops manager, I spent a little time working for the federal government with the census, working with the hard-to-serve population. For 10 years, I was the executive director and founder of a nonprofit here in the city called the Higher Education Resource Center. And our mission was to work with first generations and students who would be the first in their family, obviously, to go to school, go to college, and matriculate through college. I have a bachelor's from Bentley College at the time, now it's university, and I have an MBA from Suffolk University. And for a period of time, I was an auditor. I was an auditor with Prudential Insurance Company. I was an auditor with Verizon, and also a supervising internal auditor with the Department of Revenue.
Interesting. So
I had a strong finance background. I was born and raised in Boston, first generation college attendee. So helping others, because folks help me, has always been important to me.
Yeah.
And so when we relocated from Boston to Worcester about 15 years ago, was struggling between, doing what I knew, which was finance, or doing something different. And so that was the birth of the nonprofit here in the city.
And it sounds like you have something near and dear to your heart and your background. I'm also first generation college in my family, so understand some of the dynamics there that are involved, and some of the pride that you have, and that my parents, kind of instilled in me, and in the pride that they took, that having that next generation start college, was important. So,
and even above and beyond that, what excites me and motivates me is helping others, and that's what I really enjoy about working at the Career Center. It's an opportunity to reach out and help those who are in need of help.
Well, and so beyond the fact that you've got, a dynamite mixture of private sector, public sector experience, experience in leadership, which is, I think, what positions you so well for this, to take on this role and this challenge, because when you talk about helping people, last year about 20,000 job seekers came through, another 2,000 plus businesses were served by the three centers. So, no shortage of people to help. And of course, the need is still so great out there. And jobs are so tied to, people's lives and what's important to them in moving them and their families forward. So certainly, help with finding work, getting into the right career is so vital to our economy.
Right.
And so I know you're just taking on the reins officially.
Day number 7, I believe.
Having moved over from the operations role in Worcester to assume the director of all 3 centers now. You had mentioned the I-Team or industry team program or the industry team focus that you're helping lead there. Any other things that you kind of know going in that you're wanting to make priority areas for you to work?
Sure. A definite priority for me is more of a presence in the community.
Okay.
And making sure we market who we are and what we're here to do and the resources we have available better. Currently we have a presence in a lot of the festivals in the city, but looking to partner and collaborate with other entities and organizations in the city as well, with the Worcester Public Schools, and working with parents via the library or other organizations. So that's something that's a high priority for me.
I'm always surprised too when you're I'm out talking maybe at a family barbecue or something and talk about what I do. People don't really seem to know about the resources that are available to them, and both on the business side and businesses not knowing what's out there for them to help them, support them, and the job seeker side. And it always, I know sometimes they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's the unemployment office." And I know that really tends to kind of wears that down because it's about more getting people back to work
Right.
versus just helping them with.
And that's not unique to Workforce Central in our region. That's true across the state, especially when DUA, the Division of Unemployment Assistance, close to a year now, transitioned over to an online system. A lot of folks were able to utilize the career centers for assistance and navigation. Those numbers have started to slow down now. But I know the DCS, the Department of Career Services, they're launching a major campaign beginning next month to help us with that, to make sure that the communities across the Commonwealth are aware of the number of career centers, the services we provide, how to access us, and that the fact that you mentioned earlier that it's not just for folks seeking employment, but we have a lot of services through the state and assistance that we can offer, actually through the city of Worcester as well, to employers.
And it always amazes. I mean, it's something that is publicly funded, so it's free to utilize these services. And if you're a job seeker out there and you're looking for extra help, or even you're looking for your next opportunity, why not take advantage of these free resources? As a way of even networking. I mean, I can't see. I'm just surprised that while we served 20,000 last year, I'm surprised that there's still, it seems, this message that doesn't necessarily resonate with people, that these services are there to help them with their career search versus just come in and help with your unemployment claim or whatever. So.
Right. And that's why I want us to get out there.
Yeah.
And have more of a presence and tell our story. We have great success stories on both sides with our customers and our employers. And so I think if folks are aware, I think it's really a situation of folks just not knowing that we're here.
What are some of the, maybe speak, I mean, being a longtime community person and really connected with the community, what's some of the kind of challenges you see in Central Mass, especially, that you think, when you say get out there and look at our services, and what's some maybe challenges you see? I know we have a very large influx of new Americans. We're a gateway city, if you will, so that in itself brings some challenges there with language barriers. We also have an aging population of local residents. So, what's some of the challenges you think that
a key one for me, and you hit the nail right on the head, is the language barriers, and for a lot of the people that we serve, English is not their primary language, so that becomes a challenge. With the aging population, and with other challenges, we know we can't be all things to all people, so that's why it's important to partner and collaborate. And we even on site have an operations able management person here who works with some of the more mature population that walks through the door. And so we do our best to identify other resources as well and partner so that we can try to find ways to get over some of those barriers.
We're talking with Janice Weeks, the new director of the Workforce Central Career Centers in Central Massachusetts, in Worcester, Milford, and Southbridge, moving back to the services to new Americans and people with English language. I think there's, for me, and this is just kind of a personal struggle I sometimes have, that I think.
Okay, well, we're back. We actually had a bit of a glitch there on the thing. We had probably another minute or so left with Janice Weeks, but I think we really had an opportunity to kind of hear from her directly on what her priorities are, and she obviously has a big job ahead of her, taking over managing the three career centers and work with folks down there. So we thank her for taking the time out of her busy schedule as she kind of takes over the reins here to sit with us to chat. So now I know one feature of the show that we do that we needed to get to anyways was mailbag.
Yeah, so every month we like to dig into the mailbox and see what our listeners have sent us for questions. And this month, actually, you can send the questions to theworkinglunch@wcuw.org. You can email those. And this month we have one from Denise in Sutton. And Denise writes, hi guys, I was wondering if you could tell me how I could use social media like Twitter for my job search. Which I think is a great question.
It is a great question, and more companies are going towards utilizing the Twitter platform. They reach out to their followers on Twitter, let them know about a job opportunity, and usually what they'll do is they'll say, "Hey, we have an exciting opportunity with our company. Click, and have a link to their website back." And so what I would,
because it's a free platform for businesses to post a job, so I think that's probably why a lot of them will do it.
Exactly, and plus it's a fairly targeted effort because they know they're going to get someone who's following them on Twitter. They're interested in the company. They're interested in that arena, if you will, and they're, in some ways too, it might act as a bit of a gate that they're technically savvy enough to be on Twitter and to be following them. So it's in some ways kind of a almost like an inside. Yeah.
So for Denise, it would be kind of find the companies that you're really interested in and start following them.
Find the companies in the industry in the occupation that you're looking for. Follow them. There was a website out there called Gozaic that would help you search Twitter job leads by keyword.
Yep.
They've actually been taken over recently by Monster Worldwide, and so as part of the Monster platform, those jobs do tend to appear also on Mass Jobs Quest because they'll be spidered in, if you will.
Which is the states overall.
The states overall, which actually draws from a number of sources, including Monster, Indeed, and other job aggregate sites. So there's a lot of technology behind those websites that goes into kind of reaching out and grabbing them from the internet, comparing them to other job postings and trying to weed out the duplicates or whatnot. But certainly as a way of getting information, just in general,
right?
Kind of like your networking strategy.
If you interview with the company, you'll kind of been following them for a while, and you understand their strategy for the year, kind of some of their new projects,
style, what how they're communicating, what their kind of corporate cultures. I mean, obviously, if their tweets are very formal or whatnot, their announcements are very formal. That might signify a very formal approach to the workplace, which you should consider. If it's a bit more casual, not that you'd show up in jeans and a t-shirt, but it might indicate that their culture that they're trying to establish there is a bit more casual as well. So you want to take those things into consideration. But certainly, it's another. Imagine Twitter is almost like another networking opportunity. So it might be going to events out there in the industry is one opportunity for you to network. Well, this is another one. This is the digital party, if you will, that you can join.
The digital party.
It's a digital party, man. Come on.
Now Denise mentions Twitter, but I know the other big one is LinkedIn. And at Workforce Central, we have a LinkedIn workshop, which kind of introduces the website, how to get on there, how to get started. Would you recommend that Denise check
certainly.
out
Yes,
LinkedIn
certainly.
as well?
Be following them or seek out. Now, different individuals, if you don't know them, they may not want to be connected to you on LinkedIn. So you might want to refrain from reaching out to them as someone who's not known. There's some people react totally different to it.
Meet them in person first, then connect.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't just send them a blind request to be connected with them on LinkedIn. However, what you can do is do a search for. So say you're looking at a specific company, you find an individual within that company that's in the job area that you're looking for.
Yep.
Find out who they know that you know. So it might be 3 degrees.
The introduction. Okay.
Yeah, it might be 3 degrees, 2 degrees of separation there. But hey, do you mind connecting me there with this person? I see you're friends with this person or connected with this person on LinkedIn. Do you think you could help introduce me so I could get connected directly with them? Or hey, I'm really interested in that company. Do you think they'd be willing to to connect with me? Again, just another avenue, another tool you can use to make individual connections, because as we know, at the end of the day, the more relationships you can develop, the more chance you have of having someone say, I know about a job you might be interested in.
Yeah.
Or even better, I know about a job you might be interested in, and hey, I'm the person that's hiring, or hey, I'm looking for somebody right away. And so those opportunities do kind of happen, but the people that are kind of working to prepare for that by making those connections you have just that much more chance of having it kind of happen out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
So
thank you.
what is it? Luck is preparation. Skill. Luck is when preparation meets skill, or
That's
Come on.
that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, how do you not know the saying?
It's just dangerous having a computer in front of Jeff, isn't it?
Luck.
Yeah, he's multitasking again.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to see if I quotes Proverbs.
Well, while
about
Jeff's
luck.
looking that
Well,
up,
for some reason, LinkedIn knows that I'm not working because every so often I'm getting a post that there are jobs available in the Boston area.
Oh, okay. They're recruiting you.
Colleges and universities, and then there's a couple others that all of a sudden are popping up.
Yeah.
To the area, you know.
They want you back in the workforce, Bob.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, thank you to Denise for the great question. And again, I encourage her to check out the free workshop, the LinkedIn workshop at Workforce Central. She can find a schedule at workforcecentralma.org. They have all the workshops on there, and they're all free.
That's
and
right.
I guess in 2 minutes, it'll be 1 o'clock, so maybe we can fade in the background information, and you guys can do a closing.
Ooh, new outro. I like this.
Yeah. I saw this one.
All
Name the
right.
song. Name that song.
I don't know the name of the song. I know the song.
Someday.
I know the song. I just don't know
Okay, name the singer.
appropriate-
Name the artist. Name the artist.
I have no clue.
Silky Smooth Voice of Sam Cooke.
Other hits from Sam Cooke?
Other hits?
Yeah.
Oh.
Various? Can you give
Sam
me?
Cooke. Well, with this one,
Let's see the Riddle song.
Twisting the Night Away is also good.
Oh, that's
This is,
a song right there.
yeah, Unchained Melody with him as well.
He wrote that?
I sang it, yeah. He has
Oh, good time.
very classic voice.
Well, very appropriate outro. So, thanks again for another great show.
Another great episode comes to a close. Hope you listeners out there have a great month and the start of a great summer.
All day long they work so hard till the sun is going down. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no